this is going to have to be part one of my grandparents' story. They both came from Scotland. My grandfather was in college in Chicago, and his roommate was my grandmother's brother. Now, Bill put a picture up. I don't know if it was of his family or if it was he and my grandmother. I don't know. But my grandfather looked at that picture of my grandmother and said, I'm going to marry that woman. And he had to come back to Glasgow because his mother was ill and he needed to take care of her. So he was in Glasgow, and my grandmother was also in Glasgow. And she was with her friend. And she's on the streets, and this man starts shouting, Elizabeth, Elizabeth. And my grandmother's looking like, I don't know this man. Do you know this man? Let's go. So they start running. So my grandfather starts chasing her and calling her name, Elizabeth, Elizabeth. And she's still running. Like, she's like, I don't know you, and I don't want to know you. And he finally yelled, Elizabeth, I'm your brother Bill's college roommate. And so my grandmother finally stops and turns around and was like, oh. So my grandfather, approached her, and they started talking, and she's like, well, would you like to come back and meet my father? And he's like, absolutely. So they go back to the house, and my great-grandfather said, who wants to give him a tour of the estate? Now, my mother tells me the estate was not huge, so my grandma liked fanciful stories, so she was a writer for a travel magazine at one point in her life. Anyway, I digress. So she says, yes, I'll take him around. And so she takes him around the grounds to show him their property. And she's just kind of enamored by my grandfather, right? So I guess at some point, I don't know exactly when. I mean, he was in love with her picture, right? So at some point, he decides that he wants to marry my grandmother. So he's 30, she's 24. He goes to her father to ask for her hand in marriage. And he's like, no way, you're too young. And so they've obviously talked about this, because my grandma's story is that then they went to the elders of their church. And the elders of the church were like, okay, Angus, how old are you? And he says, oh, I'm 30. And they say, Elizabeth, how old are you? And she says, I'm 24. And they say, well, we think you're old enough to make a decision for yourself. So do what you want. And so they eloped. And they did not tell my great-grandfather that they were married. Angus, my grandfather, went back to Chicago. And my grandmother waited 6 months in Scotland for her visa. And when it arrived, she told my great-grandfather, I married him, and I'm leaving Scotland. And I just wanted to let you know that. And I will tell you the rest of the story in a part 2.